Unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. All right, so continuing with this deep dive on the Golden Globes. Deep dive. It's not deep. It's I'm watching some movies that were nominated for Golden Globes because that's just something I do once a year, see what all the hubbub is about. So far I posted about one battle after another, and then I posted about Mission Impossible 10 or whatever the fuck it was. I wasn't impressed by either. But so I went through looking, and I don't want to watch any of the foreign films. Sometimes I get into that mode where I want to watch all the foreign films, but most of the time I don't. I don't like reading the words on a screen when I'm watching a movie. I mean, that's not fun. Anyway, so I found Elio. I just saw Elio, and I went, oh, Pixar. Pixar was nominated. So I'll watch that one. I have good memories of Pixar way back in the day. 1995 or 1996, Toy Story kind of changed my whole world. It's just like, what the hell? You can make a movie like this? And then they just, for a while there, for a couple decades, they were just, every single Pixar movie was a banger. Like, animation or not, directed at kids or not, they were just super well done. Like, there's nothing you can say other than that. So I thought I'll watch that. I looked it up on yandex.com because I don't like paying for subversive shit. And since it was released by Disney and Pixar, I kind of had a suspicion. And isn't that the trouble with art these days? All movies is like, do you just kind of dread turning on anything, even if you've heard great things about it? Aren't you just going, okay, when are they going to start with the anti-white guy, pro-communist, gay, revolutionary shit? It's coming. How long is it going to take? Is it going to be right off the bat in episode 1? Or are they going to wait till episode 6 before they tell me that it's all the fault of white Christian men? Anyway, Elio opened up and it didn't disappoint. The very first scene is Elio, a little Mexican boy, sitting under a table in a diner with his aunt, who is a military woman in camo and boots, because of course she is. She's a soldier. Women have to be soldiers now. If we know anything about Renee Good getting shot in the face, it is very important for the communists to convince all women that they, in fact, are strong, capable warriors, there to be on the front line to get shot in the face. So Elio's aunt is prepared to get shot in the face in the very first scene. We see this. And Elio is very quickly determined as a misfit who feels lonely on Earth. As the next scene, he is gazing up at some stars on the military base, and they're talking about life out in the stars. There's millions of worlds where there's the possibility of life. Millions of planets that are like Earth out there somewhere. And Elio's like, what the fuck? I want to go there. I hate Earth. We don't know why, but he hates Earth. His parents aren't anywhere around, so we don't know. They either dumped him off at the aunt's house and never came back. They got killed. Who knows? Nobody knows. But we do know that Elio feels very lonely. So he starts laying on the beach. He builds all these gizmos and contraptions with antennas and everything. You know how kids do that in the movies. E.T. Phone Home, Radio Flyer, war games. Kids are geniuses in movies. That's just the way it is. That's fun. That's fantasy. You get some glue, some old light bulbs, kitchen utensils, and you can build a radio to talk to aliens. No problem. But But he lays on the beach, gazing up the stars. He makes his big circle, and he writes in the sand, "Please come and get me, aliens. I don't want to be here." Well, lo and behold, I'm skipping a lot of parts, but he doesn't really get along with his aunt. He catches his aunt in one scene going, "I don't know if I can take this anymore." In other words, she doesn't want him either. This isn't what she signed up for. Poor Elio. Whatever happened, I don't know, but he's the star. He's 11 years old, kind of effeminate, a lonely little misunderstood boy. Lo and behold, skipping a lot of parts, the aliens come. And they come in this big thing, this big rainbow-looking thing that looks like a seashell, and they suck him up into the ship. And they welcome him to the communiverse, where tolerance and love and kindness are the word of the day. And the word of the communiverse is that all the most enlightened beings from the whole entire universe get together, and it's the communiverse. It's communism, obviously, communiverse. That's not even secret. They just call it that. And everything inside of the communiverse is, no surprise, rainbow colored. They use the entire spectrum from the new pride flag, which are the rainbows, plus the baby blue and pink, for the trans movement, which I've always thought, aren't they just directly stealing the colors from, what do you call those? Gender reveals? Light blue for boys, light blue for pinks, or light pink for girls. I'm thinking pinkos is what I'm thinking. But yeah, everything, it's not even trying to be secret about it. Welcome to the communiverse. And he goes, "I want to live here with you, gay commies. I want to live here with you, soft gay commies. Can I?" And they say, "Well, not so fast, youngster. We don't know anything about you. We know everything about the entire universe, but who are you?" "Oh, I'm the president of Earth." "Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. Cool. Nice." They don't know anything about him. They don't know the difference between a human being child and a human adult. A child is the same as an adult in the communiverse. That's not coded. That's not coded messaging at all. But anyway, so they say, "We don't know if we can have you as a member. We have another prospective member, and we kind of got to choose between the two of you." Well, fast forward, the other member is this big, angry robot that doesn't have any pastel rainbows. No, he's all black and metal and red, and angry. He's like, "I want to be part of the communiverse. I heard this is where all the smartest, most enlightened people are in the entire universe." And they're like, and he's crashing around and making earthquakes and stuff, and he's demanding, that he be a member because he's one of the brightest, smartest. And they're like, "I don't think you're a good fit for this." They don't want to have. He's the masculine guy, he's strong. Oh, did I skipped a part on Earth. Elio was being picked on, and you wouldn't believe who he was being picked on by. That's right, the white kid. There's one white person in this whole movie, and he's the bully. He's the bad guy. So we got that. Now we're up in the communiverse, the gay commie revolutionary United Nations of the universe. And this guy's stomping around, this big mean guy in an exoskeleton. Looks like, every strong, big superhero kind of villain. And they say, "I don't think you're a good fit for us, pal. Maybe you'd like to go somewhere else." But he gets mad. He goes, "If you won't take me as a member, then I'm going to destroy you." Because this makes sense, because masculine men really, really want to be part of the gay, trans, communist United Nations. They want in. As we've seen over and over again, just like with Sean Penn wanting to get into part of the Christmas Club and also wanting to have sex with black people because he's a racist. It's always about secretly they want to be part of the gay club. Anyway, they don't let him in. He vows to destroy. If you're not going to let me in, I'm going to destroy the gay communiverse. You are doomed. And what happens? Well, Elio says, I can solve this problem. I'm the president of Earth. And they go, what? You can? Yes, I can. I'm confident. And he figures out a plan, gets himself in over his head. He can't really do it, but fast forwarding to lots of parts, he figures out that he meets this little maggot creature, a little alien that's shaped like a maggot. I don't know what else sounds like maggot. Are there any words that sound like maggot? But he meets this little, very adorable, cute little maggot, that doesn't have any eyes, has sharp teeth, and they quickly become best friends, because he's adorable. Like literally the cutest. Elio's he's being voiced by an 11-year-old. He's supposed to be 11. But this little maggot sounds like he's about 4. He's got the voice of a 3 or 4-year-old. Well, they develop a very quick friendship, a very strange friendship. It's not like normally on Earth kind of friendships where young boys make friends with their young friends and then they go around and punch each other in the arm and, try to be tough with each other and jump over things and, ram their bicycles into brick walls for fun, and do stunts and break their legs and skin their knees. No, these are different kinds of, this is a different kind of friendship. This is it's a cuddly friendship. It's a long hugs, head on shoulders, spooning kind of a friendship. Interesting, right? 11-year-old and a 3-year-old maggot kind of having a little bit of a romantic friendship, but they make a pact because it turns out that the little maggot is the son of the big, strong guy, the guy that wants so badly to be part of the gay communiverse. But they won't let him in. And now he's vowed to destroy the gay communiverse. And Elio goes, I got a plan. Here's the deal. We're going to hold you hostage. You're going to be my bargaining chip. He says this to the son. And the son is just so innocent. He's 4 years old. And he goes, oh, this is good because you know what? It's coming upon the time where I have to become like my dad. And it turns out the dad is just a maggot. And he's a maggot in a big exoskeleton. That's the thing you see him in, the big giant robotic, mean, masculine, military kind of spider-looking thing. Well, that's just an exoskeleton. Underneath, he's just a maggot. A little slimy, gushy maggot with no eyes. And he goes, because I don't want to become one of those. I don't want to be a war machine. Because that's really all masculine things want to do. In this movie, the masculine creature, to become a man means that you vow to wreak havoc on your enemies and kill and destroy. That's the only purpose of being tough and strong, is to kill and destroy your enemies. Much as this man wants to do to the communiverse for not letting him come to their little gay communist party. So this is going to be a good deal. There's this cloning thing that happens too. They think, I got a good idea. They're going to force you into the exoskeleton. We'll make a clone of you. We can put that one in. Doesn't work. Dad figures that out. They put the clone, gay, 4-year-old maggot into the exoskeleton. And Dad figures out, that's not my kid. So he's pissed. Everybody thinks that he solved the problem with this little thing, but this just makes the dad, the angry, mean dad, the patriarch. Oh, dads are just so terrible, aren't they? And he's just the most terrible. Anyway, I'm skipping a bunch of stuff. I don't need to tell you the whole movie. But the ant somehow gets up into space. They go back, there's some back and forth to Earth or whatever. But still the idea is what this is really doing is rather than destroying the Earth, what is usually the thing of a movie like this is the race is to save the young maggot, Elio's crush, his best friend, from having to become a warrior. To save him from manhood, basically. To save him from masculinity. Well, this goes to that. Finally, the dad figures out the kid comes back from, or the maggot ends up on Earth somehow, and these little gay maggots from space shouldn't be on Earth because it's too cold down on Earth or something. They have to rush him back to the ship, and the dad, seeing his actual child, his actual baby maggot, sad and freezing and on the edge of death, he says, he climbs out of his exoskeleton, and you reveal that he's just a maggot barely bigger than our 3-year-old maggot that doesn't want to become a man. And he swaddles him, and he cuddles him, and he cries, and he, tells the little maggot, because the little maggot says, I just don't want to become a man, Dad. Oh, well, I love you anyway. And so underneath all that armor, you've got this soft, little, squishy, not masculine maggot. Because that's what masculinity is, you see. Masculinity is just a shell that men put on. It's not part of God's creation or the reality of the universe. No, it's a mask. It's a mask you put on so that people won't know you're a soft, gay maggot, alien maggot. God, what is that word that rhymes with maggot? I can't quite figure out what that is. All right, you might think that from that description, by the way, so the gay commie United Nations, every character looks like a drag queen invented it, You can just guess, Imagine every alien from different parts of the galaxy. Imagine you asked all your gay friends, well, you have to invent an outfit where you're an alien. That's what the United Nations, that's what the communiverse looks like. No big surprise. But they finally, after all this, because Elio, even though it's discovered that he's not an adult, that he's actually a child from Earth, they decide that they're going to make him part of the communiverse anyway. Because they don't have any problems with children, 11-year-olds. They didn't ask the aunt, the guardian, hey, do you mind if, can Elio stay up here with us? What, you mean my 11-year-old nephew? Why would he stay up here in the gay communiverse? No, he's coming home with me. They didn't ask. And Elio doesn't ask. He just gets happy that he gets to now be part of the gay communiverse. But then he looks back at his aunt and she's sad. Even though he heard her say that he was a burden. In his moment of reflection, he decides, no, all's cool. I'm going back to Earth. Earth is home. And I got to be with his aunt. And who knows where my parents are during this whole thing. They never explain it. It sounds like they just left him. It doesn't sound like they were killed because he keeps talking about how nobody wants him. And that's not something you say if your parents are killed. I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much of this. But you'd think after all this that I wouldn't like the movie. But you're wrong. It was a good movie. It was a really good movie. Like all Pixar movies are good. It sucks you in the whole time. You watch it. It stokes your emotions. You get a little verklempt, at the things, as the relationships are going. They know how to use the music. They know how to use the facial expressions. They know how to make you feel what the characters are feeling, and you do feel them. And that's part of the problem with this movie, is that it's good. It's a good movie. Any person that would watch it would probably like it. And most people watching it probably wouldn't be seeing the things that I just said about the grooming. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking as I'm watching this. Even my narrator's in my head. I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it, but I'm fully well aware of everything that's going on. After it's over, I go and I research who wrote it, what's the deal. It was written by a guy named Adrian Molinas, gay man who's married, has two male sons. The initials are MMM on both kids. We don't know how he had his kids. I tried to figure out artificial insemination, but the internet doesn't like to give up that information. But anyway, two men, the man who wrote this movie has a husband and two boys. Okay? Turns out that this was the worst opening Pixar movie in Pixar's history. You know? And I thought, well, why is that? Well, I wasn't paying attention, but apparently this controversy was already thick. You know? Do you remember back at peak gay, like the Bud Light transgender can scandal and everything that was going gay, right before trans gay shit jumped the shark, went too far, and everybody started going, you know what, we're tired of this shit? Do you remember that Disney lady that said, we are going to do our best to put more gay communist shit in our children's programming? She literally said that. Now, those exact words I'm paraphrasing, but she was saying, we want more gay characters in our children's programming, and we're going to do that. She doubled down and caused a huge problem for Disney. People were just pulling out their money. Anyway, that was when this film was in production. And apparently it was written to really be gay. See, the version I told you was just me with my gaydar, picking up on all this stuff. But the version that I watched and that I said is good and most people wouldn't pick up on it, that's long after the original version was done. And in the original version, little Elio is openly gay. An 11-year-old who has a trashing show on the beach, a fashion show, you know, and he has posters in his room of a boy crush. So it was written to be an openly, and these are their words, not my words, queer-coded. A queer-coded movie. The other writers on the movie were some brown women. Okay? And apparently there was a big controversy because they screened it around this time of all the trans shit jumping the shark. And apparently there was an exchange between Peter Docter, he's one of the guys that is responsible for all the great movies at Pixar, and Adrian Molinas, the gay man who wrote this movie. And Adrian quit the film. He's like, nope, I can't change it. I'm going to quit. And then the charge was you got to make Elio more masculine and you got to take out all the gay shit. So the version I saw was the version where they sanded down all the gay shit and took it all out, allegedly. I still obviously picked up on it all. And most of you will too, you know. But yeah, I read some articles. This was a big controversy that Pixar was making openly queer content for kids. And that is why it said that it had the smallest opening of all time. It was kind of like a backlash. It's like, why are you making gay communiverse, LGBTQ, grooming movies for children? But we're not. It's not that. Well, how come it's queer coded and how come everybody that's talking about it is openly talking about it as queer coded. You know, everybody was pissed about it. I didn't notice it. It got canned, but it's still a good movie. And it's still out there. And it will be out there. And kids are going to watch it. The controversy is going to die down. It's going to be on Disney Plus. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be on every kid's thing. Just plop them down. Let them watch the movie. And let them recruit children into the gay communiverse. But who cares, Merkley? Come on, man. Can't gay people have one movie? They got a lot of movies. They got all of art. Let's not pretend that gays aren't, every message that we have been hearing our whole lives is somehow gay. What, Liberace, Paul Lynde, Queen, Judas Priest? How many more gay people have to be elevated? I don't know. Maybe I'm going around in circles here on this shit. Somebody undoubtedly in the comments will go, "Oh, you're homophobic." I'm not. My friends are gay, okay? But here's the thing. You know, why do you have to have... How are you going to, in one sentence, say, we're not groomers, we're not trying to groom children, but yet you're writing a movie specifically for children about a child who's 11 who is being groomed by the communiverse of adults throughout the universe who don't care that he's 11. They're welcoming him in with open arms, especially when he says, "I don't want to be masculine." And he has his own cuddly, spoony relationship with a maggot that's only 3 or 4. Gay coded. Queer coded. This subversion's... Here's the thing, you know, that crowd, you know who I'm talking about, they love to use the word colonizers. You're colonizers. This is stolen land. This is this, you know. You're colonizers. You know why they use that word? The same reason they call you a fascist. They tell you what they are doing. They accuse you of what they are doing. And these people do nothing but colonize. They colonized Disney and Pixar. Walt Disney, they call him now, Walt Disney was constantly talking shit about the chosen tribe, right? He was a conservative man by any stretch. His company was taken over by gay communists and the chosen tribe. Everything he stood against, Disney was colonized by others later. This is why I kind of argue why maybe it's a bad idea to let companies outlive their founders. I would be willing to consider the idea that when a founder dies, so does the company brand. That brand is no longer able to be used. You know, Scott Adams died the other day. I think the culture should be is that Dilbert died when Scott Adams died. You know, Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy died when Jim Henson died. You know, Apple died when Steve Jobs died. Pixar, you know, died when Steve Jobs died. Actually, if you go back to the beginning, this is what I'm talking about, this colonization shit, okay? Who started Pixar? George Lucas and one of his white buddies. I can't remember his name. They started it. Not too long after, Steve Jobs and a couple of his white buddies come in and go, "We love this shit. Let's do it. I like it. We want to buy you." They bought it. For 2 decades, they made movies written and directed by white guys. Right? They had some women in the company, but for 2 decades, all the movies, the first movie that they allowed a woman to direct, and this was I will call this an act of colonization. She didn't build the company. you know? She just came in and somehow complained her way into going, well, I need to make a movie. Or enough people said, well, why aren't you letting women directors? You're the white male. It's a white male. Blah, blah. Okay, we'll let a woman do it. That movie was Brave. That was the first Pixar movie I saw that I thought sucked. And I didn't know that a woman directed it when I started watching it. I had no idea. I just watched and I said, well, this movie kind of sucks. You know? And ever since then, it's just been this progressive. Steve Jobs dies, you know? And it just gets colonized. It just gets colonized by, all of a sudden you see all these directors. Every director since then has to fit some sort of DEI thing. Even Soul, which was a good movie, they were being accused. The director he's some white guy with a Slavic kind of last name. And he wrote the movie and it starred a black guy. And there was a big controversy. This was also kind of when the apex of the trans this and trans that. So they brought in a black guy just to simply give soul to the black character. He didn't hardly do a shit. He just rearranged some lines to make it sound like what a black guy would say. And they gave him co-writer credit. And it was a controversy at the time because they literally added him to it like right before the Oscars or some shit. But guess what? That's how Adrian Molina got his first thing. Because Coco came along, a Pixar movie. Remember the girl that was Day of the Dead? Well, that was also written by a white guy who was obsessed with Day of the Dead. But the politics came in. Well, we can't have you appropriating Mexican culture. So Adrian Molinas had been working as a storyboard artist, so they go, well, let's just put this guy's name. Let's bring him up. And then that way we can say we're not, appropriating. Because Adrian Molinas gets some credit too. Another sneaky backdoor, give him credit just to suffice or to appease the screeching liberals demanding that you can't make a movie about the Day of the Dead without having Mexican people on the credits. And fast forward, they let pressure amounts to let Adrian write his own personal story about him growing up gay on a military base with his parents, and we still don't know what happened to them. And all these people, all these colonizers, so now Pixar and Disney are fully colonized, okay? They have been colonized by the women, by the browns, by the gays, by the communiverse. They didn't build the company, nothing. No, they just colonized it. That happens all the time. That's what these people do. They've colonized all these big companies. And this is why we shouldn't let companies survive or outlast their founders. We should just kill them. We need to kill these companies. When the founder dies, the company should die. Otherwise, it's colonized. And we get this gay-coded stuff. Oh, I didn't say this. In the press, when it flopped, and by the way, it's been sliding downhill. Ever since DEI, that whole phrase, get woke, go broke, it's tired. We don't even like hearing it. I don't like hearing it either. But it's so true. Because ever since they have been colonized, Pixar movies have been going downhill. They are sucking. They put a lesbian scene in Buzz Lightyear movie. I haven't seen that either. I don't want to, It sucks. And it's like, I don't care if you want to write your story, Adrian. Adrian Molinas, look, you have a right to exist on this planet. I don't have a problem with you telling your story. But do you have a right to the billions of dollars and so much success that was built in Pixar, and it was built upon the fans buying tickets who aren't a bunch of gay people. They're just regular old people. Most people are straight. Newsflash. They're not little maggots underneath their masculine exoskeletons. They're not just these gushy gay maggots. They're not. They're real people. And they, with their dollars, made Pixar famous, along with the creators, a bunch of white guys. And you came in and you thought, you owe it to me. You haven't been telling my story. Well, they don't owe it to you. Nobody owes it to you to tell your story. Nobody owes you the resources of this multi-billion-dollar corporation that was built on something completely different than the gay kid's story snuggling up with his 4-year-old maggot friend on the military base and wishing he wasn't even part of planet Earth and being welcomed into the gay communiverse as a child. The rest of us see that and go, this is pedophilia. This is sexualizing children. The rest of us don't want to see that. The rest of us were children. The rest of us had thoughts of sex when we were young, but not like yours. And even those of us that had them, we don't want to see kids sexualized in a straight way. But if you're going to do it, at least that's, commercially speaking, appeals to a larger demographic, meaning almost everybody. Why do you think your little narrow niche story belongs on the big screen with all this financial backing and faith that was built up? Do you realize how that changes things? A company builds up an audience based on a certain set of moral principles, and you come along and hijack it, and you say, ha, 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 lift up your skirt. Here's my genitals. Check them out. We're going to talk about my genitals now. We're going to do the pride parade right here. You dumb straight people, look at my genitals. Think about my genitals. For the next half hour, I need you to know why my genitals feel this way, and I need you to know that they were feeling this way when I was a child. Okay, buddy, that's cool. Or how about go fuck yourself? Okay? How about we're tired of seeing this flag flying everywhere? How about we're tired of seeing you wave it in the faces of children? How about we're sick and tired of you trying to confuse or make children think about their genitals at all? How about you and your gay, accepting, tolerant, gay, LGBTQ communiverse? How about you go off into a far distant galaxy and do your shit there? And leave the 11-year-old boys on Earth the fuck alone? Or at least maybe wait until they're adults and they can find their way into the gay bar on their own because they sniffed it out on their own. You know? Am I being rude? Am I being rude? No, I don't think I'm being rude. I think you're being rude. I think you shoving your balls in my face is rude. I think you directing your gay-coded messages at children, at grandchildren, is rude. I think your gay genital flag of perversion hanging in kindergarten rooms is rude. I think that having this movie, this good movie, this effective movie, this movie made by a team of professionals in a company that was built over decades to deliver high-quality products, I think your colonization, your queer-coded colonization of that company is rude. And it's even more rude for you to say that I'm rude for not liking it, that I'm homophobic, that I'm a bad person. You know, because I don't think sexualizing children is good. I don't think the message of admitting an 11-year-old boy into a gay club is cool, you know? And that's what your movie was. And it was made for children. It wasn't made for adults. It was made for children. And you know it, and I know it, and everybody knows it. And we're all wondering what you're doing to your own children. We're wondering why they're both boys. We're wondering why their initials are MMM. I'm wondering that because you're queer coding stuff. Are you queer coding your own kids' names? Can I ask that? I'm an artist. I code stuff all the time. You know? Everything in my art, every lyric is a code for something. You know? Usually it's on the level. It's just about love. It's a feeling I have. You know? But why do you have to sneak it in? Why? Why is your code that gay kids should be targeted and groomed? Anyway, so yeah, if you didn't know that I was an old curmudgeon by now you do. And you know, look, on the outside chance that any of my gay friends are listening to this, and you know who you are, some of my gay friends are right here with me on this, and they're going, we totally agree with you. I'm thinking of one in particular, you know, and she would be right here with me on this stuff. I have another friend who's funny as hell, and that's why I love him. One of the funniest guys in the world, but he can't stop waving the flag. He's a guy that just needs innuendo a lot, you know? And I'm like, I'm fine with it because I'm an adult, you know? But that's not something you should be doing with kids. And I'm not saying he does it with kids, you know? And I don't think he would argue that he should be at all. So the point I'm trying to make is this is not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable for parents to want to keep their kids away from any sex-coded stuff, let alone queer-coded stuff. And you have nobody to blame for yourself for the flop. It's not because the rest of the world is immoral. It's not because they're Nazis and homophobes. They're not afraid of it. They're disgusted by it. Because it's disgusting when you want to talk to somebody else's kids about sex. It might be even disgusting if you want to talk to your own kids about sex. I don't even want to delve into you and your husband and your two boys. But the fact that I'm thinking about them is nobody's fault but yours, because you made this movie about two young boys spooning together and not wanting to become masculine. Anyway, I'm just repeating myself. But so there you go. Yeah, Elio's a fantastic movie, and that's what makes it dangerous. Colonization is bad. Okay? But you got to look at who's doing the colonizing now. And the people that are colonizing are radical feminists, Marxists, communists, and gays. They want everything to be the gay, squishy communiverse. It's not going to happen, though, guys, because nature mitigates. Nature's not going to let that happen. It was nature that let the cat out of the bag. And nature, reality, is what made your movie flop. Your gay coding and your subversion doesn't work because the rest of us aren't as dumb as you think we are. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. unnecessary outro song to totally waste more